So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Private Victories podcast. I have a smile on my face because I feel as though this has been 18 months, 24 months in the making. This is actually episode 1, which funnily enough is being recorded something like 2 weeks after I recorded episode 2, which you guys will see pretty shortly. Now, what is the Private Victories podcast? And I can't really give you that answer because I don't really have that answer myself yet. Here's kind of where my thinking was with the Private Victories podcast. You guys have seen me on a lot of other podcasts. I think you guys really enjoy some of my long form stuff because similar to the second channel, Iman Gadzhi Extended, I can be a little bit more nuanced. And, when I have my long form piece of content, I don't really need to worry about SEO or how's this going to rank or the thumbnail or this or that. Like, I can just kind of vent and get my ideas out. And I know for those of you guys that can stomach it and can actually handle that longer setting and that longer time frame, there's a lot of gems that come from it. So with the Private Victories podcast, some of the time I'll be just me, myself, and I. Some of the times I'll have Kieran. Some of the times I might have members of my team. I might have friends. I might have, and then obviously I'll have actual guests on. Now, initially, earlier on in the year, somewhere around, and by the way, I apologize, my phone will be going off a couple times during this. Very unprofessional, I know, but still getting set up in this new place, as you can tell. I probably should have mentioned, I'm in my new house, and I'll do a house tour or something like that, I'm sure one day coming up, but still getting settled in at the moment. So yeah, got like delivery stuff and all sorts of stuff. So just gotta have my phone handy to keep on top of that. But back to my point, somewhere around March or April, like I got super excited about the idea of launching a podcast and, making it a weekly thing and having guests and this and that. And some point I realized, and, this will probably be a takeaway for those of you guys that are agency owners, business owners. I just got to a point where I realized, and funnily enough, I spent, between all the cameras and stuff like that, the podcast equipment cost around 15 grand. Right after I ordered roughly around 10 grand's worth of equipment. Literally the next day I was like, yeah, I'm not doing a podcast. And Tristan, who's right next to the camera, was like, shaking his head and just was confused. But I kind of got to a point where I realized, like, I own an agency. Like, I'm an agency owner. That's what I do. And even the fact that I have the education company takes my focus away from that. And, you guys kind of know the symbiotic relationship between my agency as well as my education company, and kind of the view and the reason that I have all the businesses that I do. And the agency and the education company makes sense. The clothing line is like, it's the dumbest thing ever, the fact that I have a clothing line, but it's just kind of like my passion thing. But then I thought about it, I'm like, man, you're not a podcaster. Like, what the hell are you going to get from launching a podcast? And, that really just solidified in my mind. And the more and more I mulled over it, I'm like, man, go sign some more clients, go work on the education company, go build more schools in Nepal. You're not a podcaster, and you don't need to be. And you've already got a hell of, way too much on your plate. So what I decided to do with this podcast is just kind of make it as low pressure as possible. I'm going to try to do one twice a month. It might be less, it might be more. Who knows? We'll see. And as I said, we'll have different formats. We'll have sometimes, I might have a topic on my mind and I might just riff on for an hour, 90 minutes, 2 hours. I might have a guest with me and we might talk about a certain topic. I might have or I might have a friend on, and then I might have an actual guest, where I'm kind of inquiring and digging more into their life. I'm going to look for people, and this is kind of the way that I've always made friends. I don't really network and connect too much with people in the digital marketing industry, to be honest. Like, it just doesn't really appeal to me. Most of my friends, own restaurants, own clubs, own a bunch of real estate, are in more traditional businesses, have VC funding, that sort of stuff. And I just find, I can go into those worlds and then pull certain lessons I've learned and kind of pull that into my world. So those are the sorts of guests that you'll be seeing. You probably won't, you probably wouldn't have heard of most of them, but hey ho, that's, I feel as though these people will bring you actual value. So what we're going to do today is we're actually going to do an August roundup. It is currently September 1st. I don't know why I looked at my watch. I don't have a date on there. And we'll actually get onto that in a second. So what I want to do with the sort of monthly roundup is I just want to, talk for however long about some things happening in my life, some key lessons and takeaways I've had from that month, any good books or documentaries I've seen, any sort of resources or educational stuff that I've seen, maybe anything that any mental tweaks, any sort of reframing that I've done that month, and as well as some other life stuff. I want to talk about some watches, any other, you guys know I love biohacking, and I'm into my gadgets and trinkets and stuff like that. Anything else like that, basically I just want to talk about in the monthly roundup. So we'll split this up into a couple different segments. First things first, I actually want to talk about what I've been eating at the moment. And I'm going to do a full episode on this in probably 60 to 90 days. But for now, I'll just give you guys a bit of an insight.
The carnivore diet.
Carnivore diet now.
Carnivore diet.
For you. I just did it to try to find did it to try to find out what it's like to only eat meat.
Right.
You're going to need a lot of it.
2
weeks in, I noticed I felt amazing.
Really?
And I was shedding weight.
I can't believe I can wake up in the morning. That's never happened to me in my whole life.
What's most amazing is that there's no crashing. You would eat and you don't feel any different after you ate, other than the fact that you don't feel hungry.
I don't think there's a person that I can really think of, although there's always like an exception to the rule of who it wouldn't help.
Try it
A
straight
carnivore
out.
diet. Try it straight out.
Right. So let's talk about what I have been eating and probably the lack of. Now, once again, specifically on my diet as well as kind of my health stuff, I'll do a much longer spiel on that probably in 30, 60, 90 days. But been having some health issues over the last 60 days. Basically ended up getting I guess what the doctors will call a chronic immune disease, one of 90. And I think the one that I've got is, it's one of the better ones to have, but you go to any doctor and, you ask anyone and they'll tell you can never heal this ever, it'll be with you for the rest of your life, blah, blah, et cetera, et cetera. So I actually ended up, as I said, getting that in the last 2-3 months and, just had to throw my life and my focus into health. And you guys know I'm already very, very health conscious, but, I just kind of had to take things to the next level. So what I've been eating is just beef. That's it. Literally just beef and water. Okay, so that means no vegetables, no fruits, no nothing. Anything that doesn't come from a cow, I'm not eating at the moment. So things I'm eating, ribeye steaks, different sort of steaks and cuts of meat, liver, heart. I'm cooking everything in beef tallow. Initially, I was thinking of just doing carnivore diet. And once again, the reason I'm doing this diet is to help cure basically this autoimmune condition that I have. And it's working. And as I said, it's still very, very early days, even though I can see it basically getting better. But that's why I want to do a longer form episode and, just talk for an hour and a half about my experience with the carnivore diet. Now, obviously, there's different schools of opinions and sort of philosophies when it comes to diet. There's vegans, there's paleo, there's, people who try to follow a Mediterranean diet. There's people who try to do keto, and then there's carnivore. Now, on the scale of sort of how extreme or sort of restrictive or intense these diets are, carnivore is number one, and especially the way that I'm doing carnivore. There's carnivore where you can eat anything that comes from an animal. So, you can have eggs, you can have, and as well as fish. You can have eggs, you can have fish, you can have bacon, you can have steak, you can have whatever you want. So, there's sort of a wide variety there. I'm doing strict carnivore. So I'm literally just doing beef and water and salt, and that's it. I'm not putting any pepper on my steak, nothing like that. And if you guys know Jordan Peterson, he's had a whole host of autoimmune problems, and that was the only way that he was able to cure his autoimmune conditions. And then his daughter has had it even worse, Michaela Peterson. And once again, they both follow a carnivore diet protocol. Michaela specifically, she just does beef, salt, and water, kind of like I'm doing at the moment. And it's the only way that they've been able to cure their crippling autoimmune conditions. So what I'm doing right now, it is a healing protocol. And I know there's going to be so many of you guys that hear this and you're like, I don't get it, red meat is bad for you. And I know there's going to be so many of you, thinking that's not healthy, blah, blah. And that's why I want to do a full, 1 hour, 2 hour long video once I've been 90 days into it. But I can tell you, I did a week of it, and then I actually, when I was in Iceland, I did a week off because I thought that I basically, I came to the conclusion that I could fix the condition a different way, and then turns out that wasn't actually the route to get there. And as I thought I had found the answer, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go back to eating the way I normally eat, sort of paleo-esque. And then turns out that wasn't going to be the, my final answer solution. So I went back to carnivore. So right now, recording this, I am 9 days into carnivore, and that means that I'm 9 days into no carbs, no sugar, no caffeine, no alcohol. So yeah. It's been pretty intense, but I feel incredible. Like, I can't tell you guys how incredible I feel. The first 5-6 days were really, really bad. And it's kind of a similar sort of thing when you're going to keto. But in general, I just feel amazing. Digestion feels incredible. No brain fog. I will literally eat. I'm dead serious. The other day I ate 1 kilo of meat in one sitting. And Tristan's laughing right now, but that's actually because as many of you guys know, Kieran, the product manager of GrowYourAgency, it was his birthday, so I threw a birthday party for him, hired a private chef, and that was probably the hardest thing ever. That was, I knew that if I could overcome that, I could overcome everything, because I got the chef to do a Cheesecake Factory inspired menu, because Kieran loves the Cheesecake Factory, and I love cheesecake. So the entire 4 or 5 courses, however many it was incredible. And then sort of the cherry on top was the brownies and the cheesecake and the tiramisu. And it was so difficult. But obviously I couldn't eat any of it, so the chef just made me literally around 1 kilo of meat, and he was like, "I don't know how you finished that in one sitting." And once again, I had no bloating, no digestive issues, no brain fog, nothing from it. So once again, I know a lot of you guys, if you told me a year ago, someone eating meat, like, that does not sound healthy to me at all. Sorry about that, guys. Actually just got a delivery. But back to my point, if you had told me a year ago whether eating, the whole idea of a carnivore diet where you don't have any fruits or vegetables or anything like that, whether that was healthy, let alone to be doing just beef and salt and water, I would have told you no. But as I said, there is so much BS out there. And, I want to prelude by saying this. I'm excited next year when my health allows for it. I'm excited next year to go vegan for 3 months, I'll talk a lot more about this on the longer form version of specifically this topic podcast. But I'm excited, just from a variety standpoint, for sure, I definitely miss fruits and vegetables. And I think vegetables are a lot worse for you than fruits. Once again, I know that if you're listening to this goes against everything you've ever believed, and I need a longer form episode to discuss it. But for right now, and once again, this is the only thing that's healing me, and it's actually, working. And I know that this carnivore diet is working in the strict beef and salt and water. And the funny thing is, it's actually super enjoyable. It's super satiating. I do my intermittent fasting as normal. A couple other things I've been having to do for my health is I've been doing enemas, coffee enemas 3 times a week. I've been doing cryo twice a week. Every night I do a sauna, steam room, and cold plunge. So hot, cold exposure. And I've just been upping up my meditation, and just in general, kind of getting my immune system just to chill out, basically. And yeah, I've just been feeling really, really good recently. And I think that is all I want to say for now on this topic. I've been on carnivore strict, back to beef and salt for 9 days, and I'm going to do another 30 days. So all of September, I'm going to do just beef, salt, and water, and I'll keep you guys updated. Once again, that means no caffeine, no alcohol, no sugar, no carbs, nothing. Sounds nuts. Sounds like it's the most unhealthy thing ever. I know, right? But just trust me, guys. Like, I'll relay everything properly. And you guys know me. You guys know, by the way, I have the best experts, which aren't doctors, because you can't trust doctors. Doctors don't know shit. As I said, I've been told by a doctor or a professional, this is an incurable chronic immune disease. You'll never cure this. And, the only thing you can do is manage it. And right now, the past 2 weeks, or even it's only been 9 days, as well as my detoxing protocol, and it's already going into remission. So yeah, doctors don't know what they're talking about, but hopefully most of you guys have a disdain and a distrust for pharmaceutical companies, doctors, stuff like that. Because as I said, they genuinely don't know shit. The only thing that doctors are good for is they'll be able to tell you what you actually have. The only thing that I've ever used, to be honest, I've never used a doctor up until this point, really. They'll be able to tell you what the problem is, but don't trust them for shit when it comes to curing. Because, you know, I don't want to go on a long rant here, but I have a couple industries that I genuinely think are made up of crooks and just the scum of the earth. Pharmaceutical industry, medical industry, and don't get me wrong, there's so many incredible people within there. They're just in a crooked system, and a system that is not out. You know, you need to understand with healthcare and with the medical industry, it's not in their best interest for you to be healthy. It's not profitable for you to be healthy. It's not profitable for them to, instead of peddling you all of these bullshit pharmaceutical products, for you to just heal things naturally. And once again, I was told this is something you can never cure with you for the rest of your life. And progressively over the years, it gets worse. Once again, I'll talk to you guys a little bit more about this in the full length podcast. I'll tell you guys specifically what the issue is. But also for you guys that are worrying, don't worry for now. Like, I'm fine, I'm functioning, I'm training, I'm this, that. Like, it doesn't, this thing, it's more of a, you know, the way that it manifests is just a bit shit. And, you know, 5-6 years down the line, it is something that, like, if you don't fix it, you know, I could end up in a wheelchair and not able to type and stuff like that. It gets a little worse, but I'm fine because I'm curing it naturally, which is the way to do it always. So I think for now, that's pretty much all I have to say on it. I will go far, far more into detail. Last thing, yeah, just schedule-wise, it's been 9 days doing beef salt water for the rest of September. Then I'm going to add eggs in October. And then after that, I'll do a more general carnivore diet. And then from there, I'll assess. As I said, next year, for sure, for 3 months, I want to go vegan. And in the longer podcast, I'll discuss some of the ethical issues. There's a lot of propaganda out there as well. As I said, I'll discuss some of the ethical issues. For now, I'm eating just incredible, free-range, grass-fed, of the highest quality meat. And I'm also excited. All of my meat is coming from one specific farm as well. So if this thing heals, I'm excited in October, probably October or November. I'm actually going to go up to the farm, probably record, and I'm going to give all the cows a big kiss and a big hug for healing my autoimmune condition. So yeah, it's there's a bunch of other stuff mixed in there, a lot of other detox protocols. But yeah, that wraps it up for the first segment. So next thing I want to touch on, which kind of relates back to my first point, is Caffeine Blues. Now, that is my book recommendation of the month. And we're all told, you know, a cup of coffee a day is healthy for you. All the antioxidants in it, they're great for you. No, it's not. Like, caffeine is terrible for you. And specifically coffee. Now, I love my coffee. I love my bulletproof coffee. You know, even before this whole thing happened, I was doing my 16-8, so 16 hours fasting, 8-hour feeding window, and I was intermittent fasting, and I was also doing bulletproof coffees. And I love them, you know, and I love my coffee, and I love, you know, I will never ever drink coffee from Starbucks ever. Like, it just tastes like dirt to me. Like, I will never go to any of these chain places, but I love finding these cute, like, little artisan, like, just, you know, a family run, like, coffee shops. And, you know, one of my favorite places where I live, you know, here in Knightsbridge / Chelsea. And yeah, I miss just going in there and grabbing a coffee. You know, I really do. And I can't have green tea, and I can't have mint tea, or sorry, a green tea, matcha, anything like that. You know, I can't have any tea. Well, I guess pertaining to my health protocol at the moment, I can't have any tea, full stop. But you know, just anything that has caffeine in it. Now, as I said, we are raised and taught that, you know, having a glass of or a cup of coffee a day is actually good for you. You know, it's not bad for you. It's terrible for you. And not even just in coffee, in everything that, you know, in so much of what we ingest, you know, even chocolate, there's caffeine in it. And it's so crazy to me that from such a young age, we get hooked on that caffeine high. right? And when we're young, we we'll have chocolate, and we have Coke, and all this stuff has caffeine in it, and there's no caffeine warning or anything like that at all. Caffeine is a drug. Caffeine is the most widely used drug out there, and there's no labels or there's no education around it. And caffeine does some horrible, horrible, horrible things to you. I mean, the thing is, caffeine, it doesn't give you more energy. It just blocks the receptors that tell you when you're tired. Like, it's just an artificial, cheap high. And this is coming from someone who loves coffee. I was never the person to drink more than 3 cups a day. For me, it was usually 2 cups or 3 cups, and then on the weekend, I would try to do none. Usually it would be, most of the time it'd be 2 cups of caffeinated coffee and then 1 decaf, just because, once again, I love the taste. So I'm not someone who was the biggest coffee drinker, but I was kind of fell within your average range, and I love my cup of coffee. But I think that people need to know the dangers of it. If you want to smoke, but you know the dangers of it, fine. Ruin your health. Fine by me. Do whatever you want to do. But there's no labels or there's no warning or there's nothing when it pertains to caffeine. And in fact, it's even promoted as something that's healthy when it's not. It's terrible for you, as I said. And I just think there needs to be a lot more information around it. So I started reading, I picked up this book. There's certain books that, I've had recommended from a friend or this or that. And this book was actually recommended late last year, late 2019. It was just kind of sitting in my Kindle library or whatever. And, as I'm going into this new protocol where I can't have any caffeine, and once again, caffeine is, and I can't, there's certain things like, for example, tea. Tea is totally fine. Non-caffeinated tea. Tea is totally fine for, the immune condition. Then there's certain things that actually aggravate it. Like caffeine is an actual very, very bad net negative. So, but withdrawals come from it. You definitely get some withdrawals from caffeine. Like I had my first 6 days, and also keep in mind I was having a carb withdrawal as well. I just felt flat for like 6-7 days. Like I couldn't have recorded this 3 or 4 days ago, and I'm coming out of it now, and it's just going to get better and better from here, once again, because it's just stable energy. But I thought, because I'm on this new protocol, I might as well do things that affirm my new belief, if that makes sense. So I was like, look, I can't drink coffee anyways. So in my mind, rather than being like, oh, I miss coffee, coffee's great, blah, blah, I might as well just read something that just makes me go, oh, like, why did I ever in a million years drink caffeine or have any sort of caffeine or drink coffee? Like, this is terrible for me. And the book, Caffeine Blues, very successfully did that. And I think it's so important that you question all the dogmas out there. You question everything around, like, question, is meat healthy? Obviously, I've had to do that. Question, are vegetables healthy? Like, there's certain things that are so ingrained in us, like vegetables being healthy, that when you do some more research and you understand that effect it has on our body and a lot of our genetic predisposition, and for me, it always comes down to what would we have done 50,000 years ago, right? And that's a lot of time, that's my barometer for like, should I do this thing or should I not do this thing? So question, is meat healthy? I'm not, obviously right now I'm only eating meat. I'm not saying, I'm not, guys, don't worry, I'm not turning into like steroid meat junkie or whatever. It's just the only thing that can, at the moment, can help me heal. And I'm not saying you should or shouldn't eat vegetable or whatever. I'm just saying, and I'm not saying you should or shouldn't have coffee. I'm just saying read up material, non-biased material, and question everything. I've had to do that with every single area of life when it comes to business, when it comes to finance. And I'd say one of the biggest areas has always been health. I've had to question everything I've ever been told because most of it is incorrect and it's just untrue. And it's self-serving for other people and other big corporations and companies. So yeah, at the moment, I'm not drinking any caffeine. And this book, Caffeine Blues, is definitely very interesting. And, especially just the history of caffeine. Caffeine, I believe it's first kind of started coming around in the 1600s in the Middle East. And then it got to Europe around the 1800s. And people just thought it was the most disgusting thing ever. People thought it was the most disgusting thing ever because it was just like, people said it looked like tar. Like it was just kind of black and gross and this and that. And, but people got hooked on the feeling that it gives you, that sort of caffeine, caffeine high you have. And then it kind of just grew from there. I'm not gonna lie, I always thought caffeine was something that had been used, just point blank. Like when I thought of caffeine, I was like, oh, I thought of it as sort of something similar to like ayahuasca or something they've been brewing and making for thousands of years. Like I didn't know it was as early an invention of, as early as of an invention as the 1600s, the 1700s. Prior to that, I was all tea, and for the most part, there wasn't that much caffeine around, anyways. So yeah, long story short, you guys always ask for book recommendations. I can strongly recommend Caffeine Blues. If you don't cut out caffeine, I totally get it. Like I am actually caffeine is one of the things that I probably will be reintroducing next year when it permits. I don't think I'll ever drink coffee again because it's just, it rusts you from the inside. It's terrible for you. It's terrible for your digestion. It's terrible for a whole host of things. When I do reintroduce caffeine back in, it's going to be matcha. It's a lot cleaner energy. And I'll probably just be having 1 cup a day and be doing a matcha bulletproof coffee. Some matcha, butter, MCT oil, etc., etc. So, even if you don't stop drinking caffeine, even if, it helps you go from a very unhealthy level, let's say 300, 400, 500 milligrams. A lot of people are having consistently 3, 4, 500 milligrams a day, and that is terrible for you. And most people also don't understand what sort of milligram content is in the coffee that they're having. All right. So, and most of the time people don't understand that if you go to a certain store, a lot of stores just do, for example, if you're having cappuccino, do 2 shots as standard. That's just the normal protocol. All right. So ladies and gents, apologize for the background noise. Just had this brought back to me. At any given time, most of the time I'm giving some of my watches to friends or my team. So Kieran actually was rocking this Hulk for a little bit. It's weird. Like a lot of people have this thing where like, I know a lot of people get really territorial about their stuff where if they have something, they don't want other people to use it. I have the opposite thing. I get really annoyed if I have something and it's not being used by people. So a lot of times, like, my best friend right now has like my monitor and my mic and this and that, and my chair, my Herman Miller chair and this, like I get, and sometimes, and actually one of my watches as well. I don't know, I have this weird thing where like, I hate things not being used. So anyways, we'll pop that down over here actually. But Caffeine Blues, definitely strongly recommend you read that book. And as I said, even if you don't kick your caffeine addiction at all, at least if you can get it down to a healthy level and then maybe later down the line, quit it altogether. I can tell you, even just 9 days in, I feel incredible. I wake up with so much energy. I have clear energy throughout. And my sleep, you guys know me. You guys know my sleep like is incredible as standard, anyways. But it's even been taken to a new dimension, new level. So yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for this segment. All right, so this last segment for the August roundup, we're actually going to talk about watches. As you guys can see, I've got as a little coffee table book, I've got Gene Stone the watch. I've also got the Richard Mille brand book. They're very, very nice. Whenever I go in there, I guess they have to be to their clients. Yeah, very, very cool. I actually didn't get a chance to go, but they invited me to a track day. And as many of you guys know, like I don't have a license. I'm in the process of getting it. So maybe by the time you're recording this or you're seeing this, I would have already had my license. But yeah, I didn't have a license. So I was like, you know what, Kieran, you can just go. And yeah, they did an incredible track day. There was someone really famous there. Who's the F1 Formula 1 presenter? That's the one. Yeah, Martin Brundle. So he was there. So yeah, he was there at the Richard Mille sort of client racing day. I think it actually probably would have. I was going to go because obviously the network there is incredible. You're only there if you spend at least $100,000 on a watch. It's kind of for their private clients. But I actually had a viewing for this property, and turns out it was worth it because obviously ended up moving in. So back to my point, which is I want to talk about watches. Now, it's not every single month that I pick up a new watch, and I actually have another watch coming. And my watches range anywhere from 50 pounds. You guys know one of my favorite watches is my Timex Snoopy. Tristan, if you can just pop that up right here. And, that's genuinely one of my favorite pieces because I look down on my wrist every single time. And for me, the thing with the watch is the real test is, do you look down at your watch still? And does it put a smile on your face? And for example, that Snoopy, still to this day, I will look down at my wrist and I go, wow, this makes me really happy. So I have watches from that sort of level. I have watches at like the 200 mark. I usually don't have any watches from like 200 to like the 3,000, 4,000 pound a month mark. And even below a value of, at this point, I guess below a value of 10,000 pounds, I don't really have any watches. That sort of range, that 200 to 5K mark, like there's just nothing that really appeals to me except for the watch I have on my wrist now, which is probably a really good leeway. I ended up picking up a Speedmaster. So this is, once again, Tristan will go ahead and throw in some B-roll. But as you can see right here, I don't know how well that comes across. Yeah, we can focus? Not at all. Is it too far away? Yeah. I will. Tristan will throw in some B-roll. But this is a 1974 all original Speedmaster. Dial is original. Obviously dial is original. You can see there's a lot of beautiful patina. And yeah, it's just, I don't know. I'm just mesmerized by what the inscribing on the back. Yeah, the inscribing on the back says, flight qualified by NASA for all manned space missions, the first watch worn on the moon. So obviously, if you guys don't know the story behind the Omega Speedmaster, this was the first watch. And I don't know, I'm assuming, first watch ever on the moon. I was going to say assuming only watch, but it was. No, I was just thinking I was going to say, and the only watch that's been to the moon, but I didn't. We've never been to the moon again since then. So yeah, I guess the only watch that's been to the moon. And yeah, as Tristan said, they did rigorous testing and Omega was the only one that kind of qualified for it. So great piece of history here. I have always wanted this watch. First of all, because of the history behind it. To be honest, none of the other Omega watches really appeal to me. But this one, just the history behind it, and I don't know, it's just something about this watch is mesmerizing to me. And it's older than me. It's funny. I was in the car the other day, and I just kept staring at it, and it just made me wonder, like, who owned this before? Who owned this before? Like, what? This is, I guess, really kind of the only. Is this the first used watch I think this is the first used watch I've ever bought. Second used watch I've ever bought. And the other used watch I bought was, that's the thing with you, this is, when you look at this, you're like, okay, this is actually used. With the other used watch, it was, when a watch dealer sells a watch, it's buffed up, it's, serviced, like you look at it, it's a brand new watch. Like you could not tell a difference in a million years, but this is used. This is, worn in. This has a story, and I guess I don't know what that story is, and I've been looking at it a day in, day out, and just kind of imagining all these different scenarios in my mind and imagining who could have owned this and sort of the lineage behind it. And I don't know, you guys know that I'm super into watches, and this is kind of my first ever vintage piece, and there's a couple more that I want to get into. I want to get a vintage Pepsi. Obviously, you guys know I've got like a 2019 brand new Pepsi. But I want to get like a vintage Pepsi from like the 60s when they still did, I think they did the Jubilee links all the way until like the mid 70s and then changed the Oyster. So I want to get something pre that changed the Oyster. So something like 60s, 70s, early 70s Jubilee band Pepsi, like very faded, like some nice patina, faded. Just if you can throw up an example right here. Just so those of you guys that aren't so into watches can get an idea of what I'm saying. So I want to get one of those. I also want to get a Paul Newman Daytona. Obviously. And once again, just so you can throw that up right there. I think that, something like that runs, a few $100,000, $500,000, potentially even $1 million. And yeah, there's a few other pieces. Kanye West actually has I believe it's a Cartier. Once again, Tristan, if you can throw that up right there. I believe it's a Cartier he was wearing the other day, and it's like, it was a limited run, and that watch really appeals to me as well. That watch, I think, once again, is from the 70s or the 80s. It's like slanted, but anyways, long story short, this is my first sort of endeavor into vintage watches. So I love this watch so much because, look, I live in London, and there's a lot of horror stories now. For security purposes, I mentioned to you guys before, I keep 90% or 80% of my collection at my safety deposit boxes at any given time. So on me at sort of any given time, I have 3 watches. And, you know, obviously that kind of spreads out the risk, helps with insurance, a whole host of things. But, you know, and once again, sort of my Timexes and my watches that are sub 200, you know, they never go to sub safety deposit box or whatever. So I have all those. But apart from those, I might maybe have like a sports Rolex steel model, and then maybe 2 other watches, something like that. But at any given time, I may have, if I decide to that week that, you know, I've got a couple things I may want to wear my Richard Mille for, it's 150K right there. You know, like that's nuts. And even, you know, my 5711, my blue face steel Nautilus, or, you know, my Aquanaut, my rose gold Aquanaut, or my Royal Oak, or my Data, like whatever watch it is, you got to be really, really careful. And even a watch like this, you know, this is, I don't know, I feel bad saying it. Well, I feel bad saying, well, maybe not. Well, I guess it still kind of is my beater. I feel bad saying this, especially the fact that this broke 17,000 pounds today. It's September 1st. Rolex announced earlier today they've just discontinued the Hulk, so this has shot up in price. So, you know, I guess say something like this, or like my Pepsi or my Batman, or even my Black Sub, you know, those are kind of my beater watches, you know? Yeah, those are just my beater watches. Those are the watches that I'm fine, you know, getting scratches on and stuff like that. And that's nuts to most people, because those, you know, all those watches are at least 10K. You know, as I said, a watch like this before even shooting up today was like 13,000 pounds. And that is my quote unquote beater watch. And now this is, and I feel so comfortable wearing this anywhere in London. And I feel so, you know, when I see someone with a Speedmaster, especially on a beautiful suede strap like this, I love this gray suede strap that I put it on, and I'm gonna get some more straps for it as well. Like when I see someone with a Speedmaster, I just know that they're into watches. You know, there's certain pieces. For example, the next watch that I'm getting, or not after the next watch I'm gonna get is the blue Sky Dweller. After that, I'm getting the Jaeger-LeCoultre Grand Reverso. Like if I see someone with a watch like that, I know they're into watches. Like there's certain pieces where you're like, okay, you have a love for watches. You have a love for horology. It's not just, you know, you've got you've got just some Rolex on, you have some steel Rolex on, or, you know, maybe even an AP Royal Oak, and, you know, you're like, okay, whatever. You just slapped a nice watch on. There's certain watches where, you know, the person is probably a collector and into it. And this is one of those pieces. So yeah, I could not be more happier, more happier with this. And I really don't like Speedmasters on the metal bracelet. I don't think the metal bracelet is nice, to be honest. Tristan shaking his head because you have yours on a Seamaster, but still chronograph. Yeah. No, it's nice. Yeah, your one is really, really nice. Is that strap? Did that come with it, or is that aftermarket? Yeah. So I you know, really, metal straps are not the one, in my opinion. Actually, then again, I did try Kieran's, and Kieran has a Speedmaster, and his is dated to his birthday. It's the same year, which I just think that's super cool. Yeah, like it's just I just think it's incredible. And I actually fell in love with the Speedmaster when I tried his on, and he has his on a metal bracelet. And actually, in all fairness, it holds his own. I'm just saying, personally, I prefer on a suede bracelet, and it's just so comfortable as well. So this watch right here cost me 3,500 pounds. You know, down from 4,200 pounds, which is what it was listed at. Obviously, it was with Eddie, my dealer, my watch dealer, whenever I'm not buying directly from the brand. So we have a relationship. You know, he gave me a little discount. But for 3,500 pounds, I don't think there's a better watch out there. Full stop. And you can get, you know, this is a 1974, but you can get, you know, 2018 models, 2019 still for used, you know, 4,400 pounds, 4,600 pounds. and once again, just put it on a suede strap. In my opinion, I think this watch looks the best on a suede strap. And yeah, I just think it's incredible. Now looking at this watch on a suede strap, it actually makes me think whether once I'm getting a Sky Dweller, Blue Sky Dweller next, then the Jaeger-LeCoultre Grand Reverso. And once again, the reason I'm saying like in this order, if I wanted the watches, I would just go buy them. It's because I'm buying all of them retail. Obviously, the JLC, it's not that hard to get. But the Blue Sky Dweller is impossible to get. And I should be getting that in the next few weeks. And then after that, the next one I've got my eye on and hopefully should get by the end of the year is Daytona. The Panda, the white face, which I actually prefer the black face. But as many of you guys know, I got a Daytona and I gave it to my mom from Rolex. So yeah, getting one Daytona at retail price is impossible. Getting two is like nuts. It's something else. So should be getting that by the end of the year. The reason I say that is because now looking at this chronograph on a suede strap, it makes me think whether putting the Daytona on a suede strap would look good. I actually tried a Daytona with their Oyster Flex strap. Pop a picture right here. And I really liked it. I was surprised how much I liked it. I think I liked it almost on par with the mount, with basically, I think I liked it on par with as much as I like my Aquanaut, the rose gold with the chocolate strap. But yeah, that is the new watch pickup. And for those of you guys that are looking to get into watches, as I said, you don't need to spend 100K, you don't need to spend 50K, you don't need to spend 10K on a watch. My best recommendation to you when you are buying watches is never in a million years buy like from a brand like a Gucci or like I think there's other brands that do like sort of like those are not watch brands, and you can definitely buy incredible watches at the below a 5,000 pound mark. But I also think a lot of people maybe pick up watches at like 1 or 2 or 3K. When if they had just saved, they could have gone the ones they wanted. Now, as I said, if you're on a budget, I think, in my opinion, the Speedmaster is one of the best watches you can get at a cheaper price point. I actually really like it. It's really uncomfortable. I will warn you. The bracelet's really uncomfortable. But the Timex Q, the 1976 reissue or 78 reissue, pop a picture right there. I think that's a beautiful, beautiful watch. I actually have one, and I've given 4 or 5 to different people as gifts. But yeah, long story short, obviously, as you guys know, I'm super into watches. If you want to get into watches, you don't need to break the bank. Something like this I will have for the rest of my life. It holds its own. It's a conversation starter, and you will get respect from anyone in the watch game and anyone who's not in the watch game or doesn't really understand watches or appreciate watches. It's not. This is not. Okay, fine. This is not like a Day-Date or a rose gold Day-Date or a rose gold Royal Oak or maybe even just a Submariner. Where anyone just kind of knows, that's a nice watch. But at the end of the day, you don't really need those people's attention. Like I really couldn't care less about that. I care more about like the enthusiast who wants to talk to me for love of horology, not like, oh, that's a sick watch, blah blah. So yeah, that's a new pickup. All right, so ladies and gents, that wraps it up for the August roundup. I've definitely given you guys little tidbits here and there that we need to resume and we need to pick back up on in further episodes of the Private Victories podcast. I apologize for this ghetto setup. We're going to be getting the boom stands because right now we've just got these. Going to be getting the boom stands. And I also just got, moving into my new place. It's 4 floors. There's plenty of recording opportunity and space. I just kind of got to figure out where I do it. I think here on my couch, it is actually quite ideal. Feels pretty comfortable. But yeah, appreciate every single one of you guys for watching. Don't know how long this has been running for. Go ahead, leave in the comments down below. Let me know what you guys want to see from this podcast. Maybe any potential guests you want to get on. And I also, I want to have certain things that are unique and specific to this podcast. Whether that be, I had an idea of just, well, I guess prior to everything going on, the plan earlier this year was every episode, myself and my guest would have a drink. So whether that's alcoholic or non-alcoholic, and whatever drink my guest requested, I would have to source it from wherever it was in the world, whether it was a specific sake, whether it was a specific wine, whether it was a specific green tea, whether it was just a very niche drink. I would have to source it. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see where we go with this podcast, but it's been a lot of fun, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.